So today's episode is going to be a very practical one with less fluff and more things that you can implement into your daily life. Because I am fully aware that not every person that listens to this or watches this video is a creative as such, although I believe everyone is creative. But the topic I want to talk about today is one that I have been chewing on, contemplating, for months now, ever since I did this podcast episode, which I'll link down the bottom somewhere. I'll put it in the notes down the bottom. But I previously did an episode about inspiration. It's a really interesting topic because it doesn't... Oh, I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. Inspiration is not something that is just for artists. You know, inspiration is what drives our reality. And inspiration is the thing that gets us to the point of being really discerning and making decisions. So whether you are an artist, a creative, a businessman, this episode I'm hoping will help everyone. And this morning when I was just moving around my house doing my daily little rituals that I do, that I don't really consider them rituals, they're just what I do. I feel like it's kind of, these things are things that I've always done. And I was drinking my coffee, and I'll go through some of these little things in a second, but I was drinking my coffee this morning. I was thinking, I've always done these weird little things. Why is it that I do this? And I thought, obviously, I'm clearing space so that inspiration can come in. So throughout today, I'll do a little introduction here, but throughout the day, I'm going to take you through some of these very simple tools that I use throughout, and these are things I do every day. And I have been doing them without even realizing them because they're so normal to me. And I thought, I'm going to share some of these things because I feel like some of these daily rituals may actually help you generate inspiration too. So I previously did this podcast episode where I spoke to artists and I asked them how inspiration arrives for them. Is it something that is conjured up while working? Is it something that comes into them like a download? And once it's there, how do they keep it going? And I'm going to backtrack and I will talk about my personal way of, welcoming in inspiration. And I spoke about on that podcast episode how for me, inspiration comes like this complete download. Like, I have to use my hands because I always talk. I have to use my hands when I talk. So inspiration comes to me when I'm completely cleared out. Sometimes it comes when I'm busy, but it never arrives when I'm stressed. Never arrives when I'm trying to think up the next thing. And this is the hard part about inspiration. And this is why when we're overwhelmed and stressed, it just recycles, overwhelm and stress, overwhelm and stress. It goes around like this. And if we're not clearing that energy, it actually leaves no space for new inspiration to come in. So for me, what I've become really good at is clearing out space. And so I have these little rituals that I do throughout my day that allow that emptying out process. And so today is not an episode about putting information in. It's about providing you with a few key steps as to how to, in a way, empty some stuff out, or how to channel your attention in a way that is not... What am I trying to say here? I have no idea what I'm trying to say here. I'm going to pause this and start again. Let me just sit and chew on this for a second. I need inspiration to come in right now. I'm going to go back and pause and start this all over again. Okay, so I've taken some time to chew on all these ideas that are going through my head. And I've broken this down into 4 steps, not necessarily in any order. But these are the 4 things that I do every day that leave space for inspiration. So the first one is I create organisation so that I have mental space. Now, for those of you who know me really well, you would know that there is a side of me that is completely chaotic, that is rainbow unicorn, that is leap and the net will appear, for sure. That is me. However, what some people don't realise, what the people closest to me do realise, is that on the back end of that, and the reason why I have the space to be a rainbow unicorn and to test new things and to just dive right in, the reason I have that space is because I'm quite organised. I am quite structured, but I'm not rigid. So I keep a diary. I do have goals. I set time limits on what point I need to be at in a certain painting on a certain week. And I do those things because if they are out of my head and in a journal or in my diary, I don't have to think about them. And what I have found is that having organisation, even in the way that I set my space up, it goes through phases of looking really chaotic. But at the end of every single work, I do a complete studio clear up so that the mess is not a distraction for me to chew on. I don't want the mess taking up any space in here whatsoever. And it's the same thing at home with my clothes. I don't have a great deal of clothes because I throw them out all the time. Like, I'm a very simple person. I live in painting clothes and then I have a couple of things that I go out in. Everything else, I put in the clothing bin. At the end of each season, I look in my wardrobe and I go, when was the last time I wore that? No, probably ages ago. I'll get rid of it. I don't hold on to things. The other thing that this comes into, creating mental space. The one thing I've realised I do automatically as well, when I have events that I'm going to, exhibition openings, meetings, if I'm doing a workshop in a school, if I'm picking my daughter up, I organise my time so that I turn up 1 hour at least before. So yes, I'm that annoying person that is always there ahead of time. But I do that on purpose. I do that so that I can sit in my car and have space to think, to contemplate, to reflect on the day. And it's in those down times where I'm not stressed, I'm not rushing to get there because I'm running late. I'm at ease, I'm centered. I do little grounding exercises in my car where I take that time to sit and reflect. And when I think about it, I'm never rushing. I'm never rushing to get, there's never a time really in my life that I feel that way. And I was thinking about that while I was jotting these things down, thinking, why is that? It's because I'm structured and I'm organised. And that probably doesn't come out on the surface level. But the boring shit, I just make it organised and easy so that it's not taking up any mental space. So, get your life organised. It will leave plenty of space up here for contemplation. Step 2, journal. I journal for questions. What do I mean by that? Every morning when I wake up, I do 2 things. I get my morning coffee and I get it in my favourite cup and I sit at my dining room table. Usually my daughter is chaos, she's wanting me to do 10 billion things and play here and what's my lunchbox going to be like for the day? Like, I'm a mum too, okay? It is chaos. But I think setting a boundary on what fills your cup the moment you wake up, setting a boundary for everyone else around you. is so important. And one of those boundaries for me is I journal for questions. So I wake up, and in the first 20 minutes of me making up, I have my coffee, I sit at the dining room table, I do 20 minutes or 3 pages where I just get out anything that's in my head. Because when you wake up, if you don't intentionally stop this recycling phase of thinking, that will drive your entire day. So I get all of that out, and usually that is like a whole bunch of questions of what I've got chewing in my head. Like, what will I do with that part of the painting? What will I buy for Harlem for her book week next week? What will I put in her lunchbox? Like, all of these things I just get out on the page. And usually by page 3, I'm kind of settled in. I'm in the flow, and I kind of don't want to stop writing. Now, you might be thinking, well, how do you do that with a kid running around and all this other stuff you've got to do? Well, she knows. She has been witnessing this since the day she was born. She knows that every morning, Mummy has her coffee and Mummy does her journaling. She usually sits next to me. She'll have her breakfast. I always have a thing of coloured pencils on the table. I will grab her out a piece of paper. I'll do my stuff. She sits there and she'll usually do some drawing. She just knows. And if you have not been good at setting boundaries for your children that show them that you are worthy of filling your cup too, I would suggest maybe starting, because it means that you can show up for your kids or your busy life or your employees or whoever is in your life. You can show up in a better way because the first choice you have made is to fill your own cup. It's like declaring to the universe that you're worthy of space in this world too. And what I am educating my daughter is that she has that opportunity as well. When she wakes up in the morning, she gets to choose what boundaries are her boundaries. And then once that journaling is over, once those questions have been answered, because that's what I do, I write the question, I sit, and then I write the answer down. And it's like, sometimes I feel like, the universe is speaking to me, and I get a lot of clarification on those questions just sitting in my diary. Then the diary gets closed. I am 100% present with Harlan because all this shit is out of my head, and I can fully show up for her. We can be present making her lunchbox and being more creative about the things that go in and talking about what she's going to wear for book week. And I'm no longer chewing on all that stuff that I've got to think about through the day. I'm fully present with her. So let's have a look. So we've got create organization for mental space, journal for questions, object for contemplation. So this is one of those weird ones that most people I don't think would do, but I do automatically. So every day what I do is, I literally don't even notice that I'm doing it every morning, but around the house, like, I'm a typical creative. I just collect things. I collect rocks and crystals, and then my objects for contemplation this week has been these. Oh, there's one of them. Where's the second one? So these are usually objects that are so small that they can fit in my pocket. I will put a close-up photo of these beautiful little objects. So one of them is a snail, and the other one is a bee. And they are like little totems that I bought for myself at my local plant shop. And I just couldn't walk past them. They were sitting opposite each other like that. And I thought, that is just a symbol for life, We all have the need for both. We have the need to be the bee, the busy, productive, purposeful, fast action, hustler. And then there's the snail who operates at such a slower pace and probably absorbs the world in this entirely new way. And I couldn't walk past them. I thought, these are really beautiful symbols for what I need to remember, and that's balance, a balance between both. Again, I have another blog that I've written about this, but that is because I've been carrying them with me this week. So it's been those two this week. And I pick an object for contemplation. So they're something that usually I'll be walking around the house and I'll walk past and I'll go, oh, there's something really special about that. I'm going to pick it up. So I pick it up, they go in my pockets, and then I kind of keep them there. And every time I put my hand in my pocket, I feel it. And then I pull it out and I look at it and I contemplate on it. So last week was my rock. And you know that because it was in the previous episode. So these rocks, and I've been kind of rotating them. This one has been a really important player in a lot of what I've been doing because it's provided me the contemplation on colour. You know, I am certain that because I've been carrying this rock around, that is what generated the inspiration to come in for that solo show idea that I've had. So when you select an object for contemplation, again, it's with ease. It's following your intuitive nudge. You might see a little flower as you're walking to work and you go, oh wow, that's really beautiful. Instead of walking past it, pick it up, pop it in your pocket. And every single time you put your hand in your pocket, it's a reminder for awareness. It's a reminder to not operate on autopilot. So these objects are less about going, oh, I'm going to sit here and contemplate on this. That's not contemplation. That's not contemplation. Okay? It's an easy, energetic thing that as you're walking through your day, as you're moving from one cubicle to the next, if you work in an office, if that even happens, probably doesn't, I have no idea. But just keep something small enough in your pocket so that when you touch it, it brings you back to awareness. And then you can pull it out. And if you have time, you just go, a bee. You think about bees. Think about how busy they are. Think about whether you're a bee or a snail. I don't know what the object is for you. But every day, sometimes it's the same object for a week or a month but I've been carrying this rock around for probably 3 weeks. And today, I picked up these two. Funnily enough, my journaling was all about the bee and the snail. So, object for contemplation. Then, the next one. Using your senses for awareness. So this is one awareness tool as well that I use. The objects for contemplation is an awareness tool as well. Sight, taste, touch, smell, hearing, extrasensory perception, which is intuition for awareness. So to me, this comes into my meditation process. Now, some people argue, I have conversations with people all the time, oh, I can't meditate. And it's like, you know, could go on about this forever, but every single person on the face of the planet needs to learn to meditate. If you're not meditating, you're not clearing that energy. You're just putting more and more and more and more and more and more and more in. And our entire world is designed to put stuff into you. If you have no way of switching off, whether it be meditation, journaling, going for a walk on the beach, it does not matter what it is, you need some sort of mindfulness practice to clear stuff out. Otherwise, these are the things that generate disease, okay? And I'm not a doctor, but I know this from the core of my being. Everyone needs a mindfulness practice. And I've broken this down into the senses because sometimes it's not about sitting and going om. I don't usually chant during my meditations. I usually just sit and be still. But one really easy way of becoming more aware of your day, taste, touch, hearing, smell, third eye, awareness, okay? So, for example, I come into the studio, I have something for taste. So my cup of tea, I don't just drink it automatically. I take time. I'm really present, and I think to myself, God, this tastes good. Oh, I love this taste of mint. This is the peppermint and licorice tea, and I've gone through an entire box this month. And I just sit, and I actually am aware of how good that taste is. Every day I burn my Palo Santo, I put my candle on, I put my incense on, and I sit and I smell and I think, God, that's delicious to smell that. I've been moving my incense up into the studio quite frequently as well. Hearing. When I'm journaling, sometimes I put the binaural beats on. But I put something nice on. Or, if I don't, I sit and I listen to the silence. And I think, oh, how beautiful silence is. You know, if you use your senses just to be aware, to slow down, it can make a huge impact. And then touch. Obviously, like, this is why I have blankets everywhere here. Blankets, pillows. I surround myself with things that feel nice. Even this rock, I think that's why I was carrying it around for so long, is it just feels nice. And I get it out and I just rub it between my hands and it grounds me, but I'm present with it. You know? All of these little things, they're just little checkpoints. And what you will find is that as you develop this ability to be more aware and to pause and really sit with things, the one thing that I've noticed is the biggest difference between pre-meditative mindfulness practice and after is that I can so quickly feel when my mind is running the show. So it is almost instantaneous. I am never operating on autopilot anymore. I won't say never. Of course, there's times, but I'm very, very good now of noticing when the mind takes over, when the ego is starting to run the show. And then, as soon as I notice it, I just pick up my contemplation tool, or I step away, because believe me, like I spoke about in the previous episode, the external world does not operate at this pace that I'm talking about now. We have to be really intentional as to creating it for ourselves. And sure, I go through times of looking at the deadline for this big commission and going, just how am I going to get this done? How can I? And I sit and I chew and I get into that logical side of my head, and then I, make phone calls to my parents going, I really need some, babysitting help. But I notice it. And then I go, okay, this energy is not serving me. And instead of continuing the cycle of it like I used to, I step away from it. I literally drop the oars. So when I feel like I'm really rowing upstream, like I'm white knuckling my way through my day, I just step back from it now. I grab my rock out of my pocket, or my little snail it'll be today, and I'll just pause and pivot my thinking. So I am going to put all of this into a much more structured, some sort of blog or something. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to go and get painting now. But I hope that these practical tools are helpful in your life. Not just for creating that mental space so that inspiration can freely come in and move through you, but also so that inspiration can begin to be behind the driver's seat of your life rather than all the external circumstances. In finishing, will I read it? Okay, I'm going to read this. So this is an unedited, this is a blog that I wrote like a few weeks ago, and it's kind of been sitting on my iPad in my Google document, and I'm yet to kind of go over and edit it. Will I pull it out? I don't know, it's going to be too woo-woo for some of you, and I think that's why I've been sitting on it, because I don't know what way to share it, or whether I need to like tone it down a bit so that it's more palatable for people. But then the authentic side of me goes, fuck it, just type it up as it is. So maybe I'll just read it. Anyway, okay, let's read this. So I have started this series of blog articles that are, and I don't know when I'm going to post them or if I'm going to post them or how to do it, but they're like letters from my future self. So I'm going to read this. I don't know, it might land for some people, let's see. I think I'm going to be kind of editing this as I read it. This is just on my Google document, it's completely unedited. Okay. This morning I sat with my journal and something shifted. It wasn't a lightning bolt of new knowledge or a sudden spark of genius. It was quieter than that, somehow a bit softer. It felt like riding a wave I'd been on before. For weeks I've been learning to ask the earth and cosmic energy to flow through me, to let it flush through the channels of my being, clearing resistance and carrying me somewhere lighter. Today, I noticed what happens when I stop chasing my thoughts and simply allow the current to move through me. Everything got quieter and easier. When I meditate, I sometimes find myself in what I call the womb. It's not a physical place, but it's so vivid that I could draw you a floor plan. Round, it's warm, it's wrapped in an amber glow. The walls are curved like an embrace. In the center, a sunken lounge piled with brightly colored cushions that invite me to sink in and stay. Here, the air is thick with possibility. Lining the walls are endless shelves, each one holding books I somehow recognize even before I touch them. When I reach for one, I already know what's inside. The moment I open it, the contents don't just appear on the page, they pour into me, warm and whole as if I'd carried them my whole life. It's the same feeling I had this morning. I don't have to hold inspiration in my head or cling to ideas in fear that they'll vanish. I have access to all of it whenever I want. And that's the part that really caught me. Maybe inspiration isn't new at all. Maybe it's a homecoming. Perhaps that moment that I feel like I'm always trying to catch up with this idea isn't about running faster to meet your future, but about stepping into what was already waiting for you. It's that quiet recognition of, I know this place, I've been here before. It makes me wonder, what if there are infinite versions of us, each one writing chapters for the others? What if every desire, every dream, every flash of insight we receive is simply a whisper from a self who's already lived it? Life doesn't feel like a straight line to me anymore. It feels like a spiral, looping back, crossing paths with ourselves again and again, weaving threads from countless timelines into this present moment. There is no final point to reach, only the continuous unfolding of a story that is still being written. So maybe the next time you're searching for answers, don't strain to reach further. Step into your own infinite library, sink into the cushions, open the book that's been waiting for you, and let your future self pour the words into your hands. And I think that actually reads quite well, doesn't it? I don't think I have too much editing to do in that. It felt good reading that. But somehow, like, I've been sitting on it feeling like, oh, it's too personal, because I think when I meditate, I do genuinely have these visual insights that are like channeled messages or whatnot. Like, I'd never call myself a psychic or anything like that. But I think everyone's a bit psychic and everyone's very intuitive. And I do think that since I've been meditating, my consciousness awareness has certainly leveled up in a way that I can now remain open to whatever that frequency or whatever is. And I thought, like, I've been really scared to kind of post it, like, on my mailing list or whatnot, because I don't know, maybe some people might think that, I don't know, it's too woo-woo or whatnot. But that is quite literally how I feel inspiration works. It's like, whether it's consciousness delivering it to us, but when these ideas come to me, it's like I open a book that I already know, and it comes in, and it's like, when it comes in, it's like, oh, duh, that's so obvious. I already know that. I've already been here before. I've already done this. That's how it feels. And so that's what made me think. It's like myself on another timeline, whispering back, giving me all the little nudges that are leading me to the best version of myself. I don't know. That probably sounds really esoteric for some of you, but this is where I'm at on this day. I hope this resonates. Have a great weekend, guys.